Hey folks, welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. We know that the Toyota 4Runner, when it's dressed for the occasion, is a serious off-road vehicle, but that's not what this model is all about. Today we're looking at the 2022 Toyota 4Runner TRD Sport. This is the on-road model. This is the one you're going to buy if you just want to haul your kids to soccer. The question is it even good at doing that? Well, let's take a look. We'll start by talking about the powertrain, and this is the area that is most prominently showing the age of the 4Runner. So powering this vehicle is a 4-liter naturally aspirated V6. It's making 270 horsepower, 278 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through just a 5-speed automatic transmission. And this is the only powertrain you can get right now in the 4Runner. Opting for the TRD Sport package is going to get you some handling upgrades, and we'll go over those once we're actually driving. But probably the biggest changes are all about the appearance and making this thing look ready to cruise the mall parking lot. So what do you get with TRD Sport? Well, you're looking at it right here. You get that TRD Sport hood scoop, TRD Sport badging on the C-pillars, basically a monochromatic body color theme. So a body color grill bar and bumpers and rocker panels. You get black roof rails up on top, a body color shark fin antenna, dark gray metallic 20-inch wheels, and then on the inside there's also the TRD logo embroidered into the headrest. You get the black soft text interior, TRD shift knob, and TRD Sport carpet floor mats. So like I mentioned, TRD Sport is really about making this thing look good. And now I want to know your opinion. Go in the comments and let me know, do you think the TRD Sport looks good? Tow rating here on the 4Runner with four-wheel drive is 5,000 pounds, and the real-world payload on this model you see here today, 880 pounds, which feels a little bit low. And now let me demonstrate one of the 4Runner's unique features, which none of the other vehicles in this segment have, and that is a rear sliding glass panel. And there's actually exterior buttons here to roll that window down. Not only can you reach in and access your stuff, I've also heard from a lot of people who have dogs that they love it to be able to roll down this window and let the pooch hang their head out of there. And then again, you have these buttons here so you can close it up from outside. That is pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the back seat. And before we find out if I fit, let me tell you a couple things. First of all, very standard, there are 2 lower latch anchor setups, 3 top tethers along this rear bench. Now, one of the unique things the 4Runner does is this. The bottoms of these seats fold forward, and that allows you to then fold the headrest down, fold the back down. And what this gives you is a nice big flat load floor. You don't have any of those big angles on the seat backs, which you can get sometimes. So if you're not hauling people, then you can have, a really big cargo area, and this allows it to be flat. Now next up, let's see how I do. So this is 32.9 inches of rear seat legroom, and this is my seating position up here. You know what? I actually have just enough knee room and just enough headroom. There is a bit of a dip here in the roof, so I would hit if I was further forward, but sitting back like this, I actually fit okay back here. I expected by reading that number 32.9 that it wouldn't be huge, but I feel all right. Now let me grab my rear-facing child seat, we'll install it, and we'll see how it fits. Okay, so here's the biggest one you can get, rear-facing child seat. This is the Graco Extend to Fit. And as you can see, it's not going to fit in here with that front seat sitting where it is right now. So quickly, I will just hook it up. And actually, once I get it installed, I do end up with just enough space in front of or with this passenger seat. And again, this is my seating position here that I was already seated in. So that's a good sign. That means that I'm not going to be up front with my knees stuffed into the dashboard once the child seat is installed. So yes, when it comes to family duty, the 4Runner here is not bad. And then another thing I want to point out, I usually try to get this in, there are rear side curtain airbags here. The reason I tell you that is because the Jeep Wrangler does not have those. The Ford Bronco does, but the Wrangler doesn't. So if you're going to put kids in the back seat, you're a little bit safer in a Bronco or in a 4Runner over a Wrangler. And here's the storage area if you want to see it. I got some stuff in here to show you, but it's quite a large area. And then over here on this side, you also get these big cutouts into the side for more storage. Also a 400 watt plug right there, right next to the 12 volt power. So you get a bit of power at the back. These little cubbies up here, and then also D-rings in the corners so you can tie stuff down. So as the rear ends go, there's a couple of little features here that are going to be fun for when you're out adventuring. And now folks, here we are driving in this 4Runner TRD Sport. So first, I want to talk about some news and the future of the 4Runner. So we know that there's a brand new 4Runner coming very soon. We just weren't sure if it would be a 23 model year or a 24 model year. Well, Toyota has now confirmed it by showing us this. This is the 40th anniversary 4Runner. Yes, they have been building 4Runners for 40 years now, come 2023, and they're going to celebrate it with this special edition model. In the United States, there will be 4,040 of them sold. Here in Canada, there will be 400 sold. So they're doing those sort of symbolic numbers. But what this also confirms is that for 23, it's still the current generation 4Runner. So it's looking like we're gonna see the new 4Runner next year, and then it will actually be released onto the market as a 2024 model. So we do have some time to wait. And in the meantime, if you're looking to buy a 4Runner, this is what you're gonna get. So now let's talk about this TRD Sport and what you can actually buy today. I mentioned when I did the powertrain specs that one of the things that makes this 4Runner really feel like a dinosaur is the engine transmission combination. And you know what, sometimes as automotive reviewers, I do feel like we can get too caught up in how old a platform is, and it's easy to say, well, it's old, therefore they need to update it. Well, that's not always the case. Now, here though, it definitely is the case. Let me tell you why. The first, most obvious reason is fuel economy. If you want to maximize your fuel economy, more than 5 gears is going to do that. That's fairly obvious. The second one though is how this transmission and powertrain drives, and the answer is kind of coarse, kind of rough. Those are the words I put with it. And part of that is just because it's a 5-speed, the shifts are more pronounced. They don't really have the chance to be really smooth. So yeah, when you put your foot into it like this, you feel big shift. And then build up 4,500 RPM, 5,000, big shift. Whereas with other competitors where you have 8 speeds and 10 speeds, those shifts are more constant but also more seamless. So yes, the powertrain here makes the vehicle feel old just because it's a little rough, a little coarse, doesn't have the smoothness that you're gonna get out of a Wrangler or out of a Bronco. When it comes to power, I will just say the 4Runner is adequate. I wouldn't describe it as quick or a speed demon, anything like that. Now the other system which really defines the TRD Sport is the X-Reese suspension. That is the cross relative absorber system which you get standard here on the TRD Sport. Now I won't try to go into the intricacies because it is pretty intricate, but the basics of it is that the front driver side shock is linked to the rear passenger side shock and vice versa, and basically they're going to be able to match their damping levels. So what that means in the real world is on road, when you're out here cruising and I start doing this, it limits the body roll. It's actually going to crank up the damping force and make sure that this thing doesn't roll. And relative to a 4Runner without the system, or especially to the TRD Pro, this TRD Sport does sit almost flat. It has some body roll to it. It is still a bit of a top-heavy feeling SUV, but much less body roll than other 4Runners in the lineup. And then on the flip side, when you do get onto, let's say, a rough dirt road, then it will allow each shock to act individually to offer you more of that absorption. So yeah, I will say that from behind the wheel, this suspension system makes a big difference. And if you are looking to own a 4Runner and never go off-road, maybe just tackle a dirt road every once in a while, I would recommend this setup. Otherwise, you're going to be living with that big body roll around the corners, which makes the 4Runner kind of more annoying and more fatiguing to drive every single day. The other area where the 4Runner is showing its age is here in the interior, especially after having just spent a lot of time in the brand new Toyota Tundra and seeing, you know, what Toyota is capable of with its new fresh interiors. This one just feels old. We do have all this kind of bulky plastic up here, last gen infotainment system, a nice mix of buttons. The HVAC buttons I do like, and ergonomically everything's fine. I don't have an issue with how it's laid out. It just feels old compared to, well, a brand new Wrangler or a brand new Bronco, which have more fun inspired styling. This is a very serious interior, and it just looks last generation. So I'll say it works fine, but I won't say that I like it. I am excited for Toyota to show up in here and give us an overhauled interior and make the 4Runner feel fresh again. I keep bringing up the Jeep Wrangler and the Ford Bronco. I still identify those as the main competitors here, sort of mid-size SUVs with the adventure spirit to them. And you know what? I'm gonna say something now that we actually said about the Tundra as well in its final year. If you go get a 4Runner, a 22 or a 2023, it is legitimately different than the competition. This thing, for all the reasons I've already mentioned, it just feels rough and tough and coarse, whereas the Wrangler and the Bronco have really been massaged to make them as smooth and quiet as possible. The 4Runner doesn't come across like that, and because of that, yeah, it feels like an alternative. It feels like you get in here, you're in sort of an older, more basic, more simple interior. Everything is obviously laid out, and then the vehicle itself is also simple to drive and operate, but then also has that tough feeling to it. And the last generation Tundra, it had those same feelings. Now the new generation Tundra, I'm not saying this as a bad thing, but it feels more like one of the big three. The new Tundra feels more like an F-150 or a Ram, whereas the last gen Tundra felt legitimately different because of the 6-speed auto and the 5.7 V8. So yes, I do feel like if you're in the market for a 4Runner, if you buy it in the next 2 years, this is truly an alternative to the other two vehicles on the market it's competing with. Once the new 4Runner comes out, you have to assume it'll probably have a lot more gears, probably be turbocharged, or maybe a hybrid powertrain. And when those things come into play, it's going to feel more like the Wrangler and the Bronco. So yes, right now, as it sits, this old dinosaur here really offers you something unique in the marketplace. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this video. Now, of course, I want to hear your thoughts on this 4Runner TRD Sport, so go into the comments and let me know what you think. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we are testing next. See ya.